focus for. I think one of the greatest fears that humans have is responsibility. People always talking about being stressed, and like most of the modern complaints and like first world problems we have is just responsibility. Having to have a job, having to have kids, having to have, anything like that, school, whatever it is, it's just the responsibility that people don't like. We like to be free, we like to do our own thing, we like to do all this stuff. But I heard a great message yesterday, or I guess it would have been Monday, called All In by Jim Shetler. And it was a good message. I'll try to link it below, but one of the things he said in kind of in passing was to take responsibility for not just, yourself. And that's kind of like, nowadays even, that's like, wow, you just took responsibility for your own actions. That's incredible. Because most people nowadays want to blame, and this is not to attack anybody, but people want to blame their disorders, they want to blame their parents, they want to blame their upbringing, they want to blame their environment, they want to blame every single thing, and just not take responsibility. But he challenged, he was preaching at a camp, and he challenged the youth of that camp, take responsibility for everything you have. Not just yourself and your problems, but he was saying take responsibility for your family, for your youth group, for your church. And that is a very good point, and the more I think about it, the more I want that to be true in my life, because you have all these opportunities, and when we view them not as chains and not as, the word responsibility is kind of scary in it, because we've put all this stress, and it means that you're not free, and you have to do this, and really, we're only here for a short time, and then we don't have any more responsibilities ever. Whether you go to heaven or hell, you're not going to have any more responsibilities. You're just going to be there. Not to say that hell's not going to be terrible, but there's nothing you're going to have to be doing besides just burning. In heaven, there'll be things you're doing, but it's not going to feel like responsibility, because you're going to have learned that work is not a bad thing. So just take responsibility. And instead of running from every possible responsibility, instead of running from taking ownership of your life and your family and your church and your youth group and your culture, even our generation, Gen Z, and I want to take ownership of that. As much as I can complain about how, it's not like I'm making decisions for everybody, but I don't want to just say, oh, it's not my fault, whatever. Taking responsibility isn't saying, oh, this is all my fault. It's, in that context, it's saying, you know what? This is my fault, and I'm going to change what I can change. I'm going to control what I can control. So instead of looking at Gen Z as, these people are crazy, which they are. Some of y'all are crazy. But instead of looking at it like lost cause, I want to look at it more like, you know what? I'm part of this. This is my responsibility. I'm just going to do everything I can. And God's not going to judge me for other people's actions, but He is going to judge me for what I could have done. So take responsibility, because when you start doing that, that's when you can actually make a difference. If we just run from every responsibility and run from every job and everything, you're never going to do anything. You're just going to be, you're going to work in some way. You're either going to work and actually just work, or you're going to work to avoid work as much as possible. And most people nowadays do all this work just to stay out of doing anything. But I don't want to do that. Not that I don't ever, try to run from work. I do it all the time. I got to work on it. But I want to take responsibility for not just myself, but my family, my youth group, all these things, because when you start taking responsibility, that's when you can really start making a difference, because God sees that. He says, you know what, this person's serious. They want to get something done.